Okay, today we're going to be very. I want to try to do the whole parakeh, which is 5 classes. So we'll do our best we can. Okay, so just to tell you where we're going, what we're headed, I'm just going to throw a few questions that we're going to work on understanding today. Number one, why do we learn parts of Torah that have no application or seemingly have no application, or scenarios that never actually even happened? We want to know what is accomplished when we learn Torah, what is accomplished when we do a mitzvah, what's accomplished when we learn Torah and we do a mitzvah in this world, and how does it help us in the world to come in Olam Haba? Why do we need both Torah and mitzvahs? And why is it that Talmud Torah is keneged kulam? Okay, so that's what we're going to try to do. Okay. So there's a very interesting word. The word is grasp. If you've ever gone to play arcades, there's like this claw machine thing, and there's like these stuffed teddy bears, and you try so hard to get a teddy bear out, and it usually never happens. So what happens? This claw, right, is grasping the teddy bear, and then let's go, and then you lose it. So this word grasping is something that we could very understand this word, right? This is the word that it's like a physical word, but yet it really truly helps us understand what is happening when we are learning Torah. We are grasping, and if we learn Torah properly, we're not going to let go. To hold on to it, not let go, we're grasping divine wisdom and divine will. That's what's happening when we're learning. That's what happens when we're learning Torah. Now you're going to ask me a question. What about all the parts of Torah that are seemingly not relevant or seemingly never happened and never will happen? There are scenarios like a Ben Sayer or Moira that actually it never happened, that he had to be executed. It never happened, but we learn about it anyway. All the karbanis that we learn about. And there's also so many scenarios in Torah that are so far-fetched. If a sheichet has a knife that he used to slaughter an animal, and the knife falls in a certain way that it shechts the animal by itself, like great aim, like is this animal kosher? The chances that that's going to happen are so slight. What happens if it's at night and a man, he slept with his wife's sister? What is the halacha? What is the halacha with regards to the child? I mean, cases that Walt Disney couldn't have thought of, So and in general, we find that Torah, half of the Torah is talking about terrible people who did terrible things, and yet this is Hashem's will and wisdom. When you open it, when you start reading the Torah, okay, you're expecting will and wisdom. You're expecting who knows what. You're going to open the Torah and you're going to, be so, encompassed in this, most amazing divine teachings. And what are you learning about? The Adam and Chava, they couldn't hold back from eating a fruit, and Nayach, and the flood, and the Daraflaga, the tower they built. I mean, what's going on? Doesn't seem very spiritual. But yet this is Hashem's divine will and Hashem's divine wisdom. And let's just define what it means, will. Hashem wants us to light Shabbos candles at this particular time, 4:27, not 4:28. And people could think like, Hashem is so infinite. Does he really care if I light candles at this time, if I light candles at that time? Like, it seems so petty. When you're talking about will, what a person desires, it's on their terms. It's not on your terms. It's not based on what you think makes sense. That's the whole point of will, is that it's about the other person. It's not about you. It's not for you to judge. If someone is vegetarian, you might think it's crazy. You might think Hashem put animals on this world, and we're supposed to eat, and it gives us nutrition value. But if, let's say, that person who's a vegetarian comes to your house for dinner and you say, you know what, I'm gonna tell them that the burger is vegetarian, but really we'll put some meat in it. What's the big deal? The meat's really kosher. But you know what? You could literally ruin a relationship that way if the person finds out that there's meat in it. You didn't respect my will. It doesn't matter. It's not about you. It's not about you. But when we're talking about Hashem's will, it's not just that Hashem prefers Post bran flakes versus Kellogg's bran flakes. But for Hashem, Hashem's will, it's a deep-seated will that shows on his essence. So we gave that example. You know, you could send your husband to the store and he bought the wrong brand of whatever of your favorite cereal, and he gets the cold shoulder because you only like that brand. You don't like the other brand. But so the root of the shopping list is not because it's not what's missing in my pantry, but the root of the shopping list is my will. And if I want simple things, but some people have, and even if it's something more, you know, something that means more than just a brand of cereal, like what do I get up in the morning? Like, why do I get up in the morning? Like something that's very, very important to me. That's my will. And if you were to take that away, I'd have no reason for living. But that will, it reflects on who you are, on your essence. So Hashem wills that if Reuven is ox kicked a pebble and it landed and broke Shimon's vessel, then what the halacha should be in that case? This is Hashem's will, and it's not for us to say, "Oh, I don't think that's important. I don't think that's relevant." It's not about us. Will is about Hashem. It's not about us. And just like I might not understand someone else that they want something or they prefer something, it makes no sense to me. But that's exactly the point. It's about that person's will. It's not us for us to mix in. Okay. So it and looking at the Torah, it might seem, you know, like Light and his two daughters, for example. I mean, that's a crazy story. Yehuda and Tamar, it's a crazy story. But yet, when we learn it, we're grasping Hashem's will and Hashem's wisdom. And it doesn't matter if we don't get it. Not that it doesn't matter if we don't understand it, but it doesn't matter if we don't understand how this is Hashem's will, or why this is Hashem's will, or why this is written in the Torah. Just like if a person has a headache, okay, they take a pill, they pop a pill. So if I pop a pill and I'll feel better and my headache will go away, that's wonderful. I don't have to understand the components and the elements in the pill in order for it to make it work. It's okay. It's going to do its job whether I understand what's inside the pill or not. So the same way, whether I understand why the Torah chooses this story or not, it doesn't matter. If I learn it, I'm grasping Hashem's will and Hashem's wisdom. Whether I understand it or not, just like the pill, whether I understand what's in the pill or not, doesn't weaken the effectiveness of the pill. Okay? My lack of understanding doesn't undermine the effectiveness of this pill. And what happens when we learn Torah, right? We grasp Hashem, and that unity is a unity like no other. There is no other unity that can be compared to the unity that we achieve when we learn Torah. Any other physical thing is a bunch of parts coming together. For example, my cell phone. If I drop my cell phone and chas v'shalom, the screen shatters, right? I can take it to the repair place, and they'll remove the current screen and replace it with another one. That just proves to you, yes, it's one phone, but there's no unity. It's just a bunch of pieces working together as a team to accomplish something. I have a power button, I have a camera button, different functions. That's not unity. Anything physical that could be that's put together, once it's put together, it could be taken apart. That is not unity. But there's a yichud nifla, an amazing unity And there's no other unity like it. That happens when we learn Torah. And it's more than just two different things coming together and merging into one. You bake a cake, take all different ingredients, merge it into one. I might not be able to separate the grain of the piece of flour from the egg, right? That's merging things together. But the unity of Hashem and Yidden and Torah surpasses anything like that. Why? Because these three elements, Hashem, Torah, and Yidden are truly interwoven and are truly one. So usually when I want to learn information, so there's me, and there's information that I want to know, and now I have to get that information from the outside to come inside, to be grasped by my brain. But when I'm learning about myself, discovering things about myself, then it's different. It's a different learning process. Basically, what's happening is it's not book learning, but rather I'm revealing what was always there. When I learn about myself, I'm revealing, it's not something new. It's something that was always there that now I'm like, oh, I really like that, or that really makes me happy, or that really makes me feel hurt, whatever it is. So we're revealing something that's already there. The same thing is with us and Hashem. When we are learning Torah, what happens is there's already a connection. Not just their connection, because I have a neshama, and my neshama is a part of Hashem. It's a chelek elakami ma'amamish. It's an actual part of Hashem. The connection is always there, was always there, will always be there. But what's happening is that when I learn Torah, now I'm revealing that connection. I'm revealing that unity. The unity is there. The unity is there. But by learning Torah, I'm revealing that connection. I'm revealing that unity. Okay. So when we learn Torah, we discover godliness as it resonates with the essence of our being. That's what happens when we learn.
That's how our neshama learned it before it came down to the throat.
Yeah.
So technically, our neshama knows it all already.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our neshama knows it all. Why do we not learn to learn all these things? I feel like we probably learned to
As it
before it came down.
right? It's not. I guess it's not.
No,
It's not. We have no need for it to be revealed. It's not.
But people
Meaning our
reach that
neshama knows
level.
it, but it's no need to reveal it.
Right, but if we could reach that level of unity, which we don't have as many opportunities as men do,
Maybe
we
I think
should.
women can reach unity without it. That's the mile about it.
So that the question
Right,
is
yeah.
there another way to reach unity without learning Torah?
So there's nothing that can replace Torah
This is
learning.
like this, and this is like a hug, so it's, you'll never reach that point.
But women are obligated to love and fear Hashem.
Right.
And through learning, and specifically learning Chassidus, that's how we get to love and fear Hashem. Otherwise, do I love Hashem like I love a chocolate bar? You have to know Hashem in order to. You have to know what Hashem, what that means in order to love and fear. So technically, there's a lot of learning that we are obligated to do.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Is it all learning is the same? Because I was under the impression that it's specifically Chumash, where you're hugging Hashem and Hashem is hugging you.
Okay, so those are excellent questions. There is, first of all, the only difference between Teresh B'Chsav and Teresh B'Al Peh is that Teresh B'Chsav, if you read it, and even if you don't understand it, you still got the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. Gemara, if you read it and you don't understand it, you didn't accomplish anything.
Isn't also something about women, like when we send our kids off and our husbands off, it's that's why sending off and returning with that simcha, isn't that also, don't we get part of that?
Absolutely.
Isn't that that's part of like where we end up getting the growth or something within that, like the ability
100%.
that giving them that opportunity to learn.
Yes.
That's then our plus.
Yes. Yes.
If we get closer to Hashem through that.
Not
Yes.
getting to that level of unity.
But we're conduits for it. So then you get it in your own way. I mean, but then you get your own way. 'Cause
It's
you're not-
reaching that level.
But you're reaching a different level. We're not at the same level. We're different levels.
Water reach that level.
No, but a
Right.
husband and wife are one unit. It's two halves of the same neshama. When you light Shabbos candles or when you go to the mikveh, okay, you're doing it for your husband. And when he learns Torah and puts on tefillin, he's doing it for you. It's one soul.
So
It's
we
one
get
soul.
That unity when.
So when we allow our husbands to go to learn, then yes, whatever they're accomplishing, for sure. If you're talking about schar, but
Not as hot. I'm talking about.
but if you want unity, you got to do the work.
You gotta do the work.
You gotta
Your
do the
spouse
work.
is not- Even if you send them off, you're not.
No, but then you come home and like, what did you learn? What if you bring that into your home? And then
You learned it.
Then you learned it. Right, so you learned it. Yeah, right. You can't, it's not
But
like
even if you
that.
don't physically learn.
But
you're
you're,
not.
You're
that's
absorbing it.
your home is
You're
part of
repeating
that.
it. That's
thing.
learning.
I would assume that if your husband's going to learn and he's coming home, he's bringing it back into that, your home is then being reinfused in that every
Making it a house of
house of
Torah.
Torah. And that's the conversation, that's what the
Right.
conversation is. So like, the conversation at home is between something sports versus like, oh, I just learned from the whole, like, that's your whole life. Then like, then you are
Then
learning.
you're learning.
Then you
Yeah.
are learning. We're not opening up the paper, but we're learning about it. The concept still comes back to
Even
us.
what to share, I was learning.
Right.
There is something, I don't remember, but there is something about women learning, it's not like the same directive, but we are supposed to learn, there is.
I'm saying, but what we're doing now, it's a question, but
We're supposed to learn
this,
Torah also.
I'm saying
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is
yeah.
the thing, no?
There is something
Absolutely, we're learning here. Absolutely, that's what's happening right now. 100%.
This is the check.
But there is something about that
What?
trying to
It's like the
share.
check, yes, we're doing it.
So
Right here, it's a husband going to learn.
There is something with women, women have to be free from learning.
So when we're sitting here, what's happening is
Never get hurt, but we have some sort of like. We are supposed to-
We're obligated to love it, fear Hashem,
And
and
learn.
keep the laws. The way to do it is to learn.
Right, there's a different fun video.
Right?
Well, doing that, we
we
are.
also have to know how to raise our children and the halachas. There's so many halachas that we have to know in the kitchen and kosher and Shabbos to live a from life. But ultimately, the reason why we learn Torah,
You also learn this? It's very, it's not just.
I said,
okay.
Yeah.
My own son. The old version.
yeah, okay. So ultimately the reason why we learn Torah is not so that we should know what to do. We should know what halacha is, and it's not that we should get a reward in Olam Haba, which is wonderful. But the real reason why we learn Torah is because we want to be bound up with Hashem. And Torah is the mechanism to reveal to my conscious mind my connection, my connection to Hashem. And Torah is a mechanism to bind my neshama to Hashem, so that we're not two separate beings or entities that have to be connected, but it reveals the connection that is already there. And it's amazing unity that which is created through learning Torah.
You just define what you mean when you say learning Torah.
So learning Torah is understanding
Tanakh?
any part
Is
of
that
Torah.
what you mean?
Tanakh, 100%. It could be. It could
That's what, like, I'm saying, anything that is about Hashem, or is it like?
anything under the umbrella of Torah. Anything. Mishnah, Gemara, Hasidus, the Tanakh, 100%. Anything.
Even
Tehillim is part. Tehillim is part of Tanakh.
It means when I say Tehillim, I'm uniting with Hashem.
So when you're saying Tehillim, you have the mitzvah of Talmud Torah because you're saying the holy words of Tanakh. But there's even a higher level. The highest level is understanding.
Okay, so if I repeat in English, then.
Yeah, if you,
then I'm getting.
But
to
you told me
understand
that
it.
Tanakh when you said that 2 times ago,
Yes,
you just said
yes.
it does, it really change my thinking, because sometimes I'm like, I don't really know, I'm like, you know what, even if I'm saying the words, it's still,
Yeah.
still kind of.
Yeah. Okay. And the only reason why we could do it, the only reason why, how we have the power to grasp an infinite God is only because we have a neshama. So the Torah helps our neshama reveal itself and express itself and feel the connection. And only because we have a neshama do we have the power to learn Torah. Okay. So there's something incredible about Torah, specifically over a mitzvah. And we spoke about this last time also. A mitzvah is equal for everybody. Moshe Rabbeinu could put on tefillin, and your husband could put on tefillin. It's the same mitzvah of tefillin. Yeah, one person could know the meaning behind it, know how wonderful it is, but the mitzvah is the mitzvah. A mitzvah is a mitzvah, and it's equal for everyone. It doesn't matter if you're Moshe Rabbeinu or if you were a Jew that just found out 1 minute ago that you're Jewish. The mitzvah of tefillin happened by both people did them. Moshe Rabbeinu and this Jew just walked in from the cold who just found out he's Jewish puts on tefillin. Tefillin is tefillin. But when it comes to learning Torah, it's completely different. You can't compare Moshe Rabbeinu learning Torah to a Jew who just found out that he's Jewish learning Torah. There's no comparison. So it's much more personal, and a mitzvah is much more general and surrounds us. Okay, and also so interesting, like we said, that the difference between walking to yeshiva or walking to a university library. In the library, in the university, it's pin drop quiet. And in the yeshiva, everyone's screaming on top of their lungs. It's a completely different way, because just by saying the words, then you're using your garment of speech, and just by saying the words, you're doing a mitzvah of Talmud Torah. Even if you don't fully comprehend when you're learning Tanakh, you still get the mitzvah. And that's why you could call up someone to the Torah. Could be not from, it could be that doesn't know how to read, but he makes the bracha, birchas HaTorah. Baruch atah Hashem, he's saying Hashem's name. Why? Because you're yaitza, because just by saying the words, even if you have no idea what they mean, you're yaitza the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. Okay, so what is really the difference between learning Torah and doing mitzvahs? And it's interesting to note that Torah learning is also a mitzvah, and Torah learning accomplishes it uses all three of the levushim, all three of the garments. Number one, intellect, you're learning Torah, and then thought, you're using thought to understand Torah. Speech, you're saying the words of Torah. And then action, I'll just say what's interesting with speech, when you speak the words of Torah, then what are you doing? The words, the breath is going outside of you and it's surrounding you and it's actually purifying the atmosphere. And then there's action because the mitzvah because you learn Torah and it tells you what to do, and then you actually do it in action. So Torah learning, it goes across the whole spectrum of thought, speech, and action. But if you learn Torah or if you do mitzvahs, there are two different channels of connection with Hashem. It's two different ways that we can have a relationship with Hashem. Okay. When we do a mitzvah from head to toe, we are completely surrounded by a makif light, by an energy that surrounds us on the outside. It's too great to come inside. It surrounds us on the outside from head to toe. And just like by Simchas Torah, it's called hakafis. Hakafis comes from the word makif. Usually we take the Torah, we put it on the bima, and we read from the Torah. With Simchas Torah, we dance with the Torah, we make hakafis. When you're talking about hakafis, you're talking about Simchas Torah. When you're talking about this light that surrounds you completely, there is no discrimination between people. The light is equally the same. Moshe Rabbeinu puts on tefillin. Your husband puts on tefillin. The light that surrounds Moshe Rabbeinu, the light that surrounds your husband is equally the same. It doesn't discriminate. Just like we're in this room, the light fixture doesn't discriminate and says, I'm only going to shine on one person. I'm not going to shine on someone else. No, the light shines equally on everyone. It's not about. And if none of us were here and the light was on, it would still shine. It's not about us. The mitzvah it surrounds everyone equally, surrounds them from head to toe. Doesn't matter if you're a Torah scholar, doesn't matter if you're a simple person, comes from Simchas Torah, everyone's equal. We dance with our feet. It doesn't matter what you know. And that represents this concept of that represents this concept of hakafis, it's about everyone is equal and we're all, that's what we're focusing on Simchas Torah. Okay. But when you're learning Torah, the whole different story. If Moshe Rabbeinu is learning Torah, he's light years ahead of someone who's just in being introduced to Torah for the first time. So as we said, learning Torah is much more personal, and every single person that walks out of this class understands the information in a different way. And we all have a different kind of brain, and the power to understand. There's 4 different levels of Torah, Pshat, Ramez, Drush, and Side, which our souls can be inclined to. So Torah is completely personal and different than a mitzvah. Okay. Now, a mitzvah, I have to constantly keep doing mitzvahs. And just because I davened yesterday, I still have to daven again today. I daven chakras, I have to still daven mincha. We have to keep on doing mitzvahs again and again. Why? Because you always want to ensure that there's a light surrounding us from the outside. And as soon as I finish doing the mitzvah, or let's say tefillin, after a man put on tefillin, you still see the lines on his hand from the tefillin for a little while after. So the question is, and it's debated, our sages debate, how long does the light surround us after once the mitzvah is done? So of course there's always an eternal light, but I'm saying like in comparison to when I'm actively doing a mitzvah, there's actively a light surrounding me from head to toe. How long does that light last? So obviously it diminishes somewhat once the mitzvah is done. You have to constantly be doing mitzvahs to constantly make sure that there's a light surrounding me from head to toe. So it's a light of protection, and so it's this aura. And just because I don't see it doesn't mean that it's not there. So that's why we're constantly doing mitzvahs. Just like you have a candle that's burning, right? You always have to make sure there's enough oil for it to keep going. Yeah, and that's what a mitzvah accomplishes this light that surrounds us completely. And it doesn't matter what part of my body I'm using to do a mitzvah. It does if a person puts tefillin on his head, right? A head is greater than a hand, and a hand. Okay, also you do hand tefillin, but a hand that gives tzedakah. It doesn't matter which mitzvah you're doing. Just because you're using a different part of the body, it doesn't matter. Any mitzvah that you do, it doesn't matter if you use your head, it doesn't matter if you use your toe, it doesn't matter if you use your hand, it doesn't matter whatever part of the body you use, this light surrounds you from head to toe. That's what a mitzvah facilitates. But there's a problem with a mitzvah, because anything that envelops me on the outside, Chas v'shalom, could leave me. There's no guarantee that it's going to stay. It's on the outside. And that's why I have to constantly do mitzvahs to ensure that it's consistent. But when I learn Torah, when I know Torah, and knowing Torah means that if you go to sleep tonight and I wake you up at 2 a.m. and I ask you a question about the class, that you know the answer. That's what knowing Torah means. Not that, oh, I know which book it's in. Not that I know that I'm going to Google it. But knowing Torah means that I know it, that I got it, that I chapped it, that I got it with the clause, I got it, it's mine. That's what knowing Torah means. So what happens is when I learn Torah, while I'm learning Torah, while I'm in the process of learning, it's a twofold experience. The information is intriguing me. It's making me curious. So the information is encircling my brain, and my brain at the same time is circling the information, trying to chop it. So it's two things that are happening at the same time. So ultimately, when I learn Torah, I'm also getting the advantage of a mitzvah, because this wisdom and will of Hashem is surrounding my brain on the outside. By the time I'm done learning, I completely grasp the information, and it's inside of my brain. And once I know it, I can't unknow it. I can't unknow 1 + 1 is 2. Once I know it, I grasp it, it becomes part of me, it's one with me. That is the advantage of learning Torah over a mitzvah. I allow Hashem's will and wisdom inside of me. And Torah is different than anything else. Matzah. We eat matzah on Pesach. Is matzah holy?
If we elevated it is.
So the difference between matzah and Torah is holy. We give it respect, right? When we open up the ark, everyone has to stand up. The Torah is being read, everyone is quiet. The Torah falls on the floor, chas v'shalom, everyone has to fast. What happens if a matzah falls on the floor? Pick it up, right? So, yeah, okay, throw it out. Okay. So the Torah has to be respected, it has to be treated in a respectful way. Matzah facilitates a mitzvah. Matzah helps me perform a mitzvah. And yes, the matzah is elevated, and the water is elevated, and the flour is elevated, and my digestive system is elevated. But the matzah itself is not holy. I haven't brought a holy element inside of me to become part of me. I cannot say that a holy element has now been absorbed into my bloodstream.
No, a little, meaning, yeah, it's just growing after it's not, but once it becomes, there is holiness to something that's with the fire mitzvah, no?
Once it was used for mitzvah.
Right, you take the breath, I think.
Yeah,
So then once it's after Yontif, then it's over.
But it's not the burn. You're not allowed. You have to take,
It's not
you have to
holiness.
get rid of it covered, right, maybe because it was used for mitzvah.
Right.
so the reason why I'm giving an example of the reason I'm giving an example of matzah is because matzah is something you actually eat.
And Kiddush wine. I'm saying Kiddush.
I can't try. Yeah, I'm saying you can't say that wine is holy. You're using it for a mitzvah. It's a.
It's actually interesting because, like, okay, so I'm going to have so Shemitah wine. We have wine as Shemitah. I can't dispose of it. Like,
Right.
what if we have wine after
Okay, so that's
finish
different.
it? So there's a difference in that. With Shemitah, that's a whole different level.
Okay, so now holy, you have to also define what holy is. Holy means that it's separate.
It's separate.
And I can't benefit from it only in certain ways. So that's a whole
Only becomes holy once I designate.
Right. I think-
right. So holy. So the word holy means designated. And when a husband is mekadosh a wife, also he designates her to be his wife. Yes, but usually speaking, okay. Also, if you get, let's say, kaishal bracha, you get wine from the Rebbe, or So I'm saying, and you ingest it, or lekach, or honey cake, or if you get shirayim from a Rebbe and you ingest it, obviously, maybe that's different because it's taka holy. And
That's food of Shabbos food, people that make Shabbos.
I
It's
learned that
okay.
If it's food that's special for Shabbos, then on Shabbos itself, there's like maybe special food for Shabbos, I guess,
Right. So it's a mitzvah to eat.
right?
It's a mitzvah to eat, but the challah itself, if it falls on the floor, it's not. You
You
can't.
treat it the
Right.
same, you
It's not-
treat the holy item.
etc.
Right.
Right.
I'm
So
just curious about the Shemitah thing because the Shemitah, like we can't, like I can't just throw out the fruit, the peels. I can't
Right.
throw any of that out.
right.
Because they're separated, but there's different elements,
Shemitah,
different
right.
level.
So it's a different level. It's on a different level and it has to be treated with respect.
Well,
Okay.
that's Yashar.
So
I know
It's
Yashar
not
is,
a- not a-
Well, I learned that when
I
you
mean-
eat, if you make a bracha and enough bracha, that your blood becomes holy.
and that's why it's so important that we eat kosher food. And it says what you eat becomes part of you, 100%. 100%. But what the
Torah is something spiritual.
And then
It's
in
different.
itself, there's no holy.
but the difference between what happens when we learn Torah, okay, what the digestive system, what the stomach does for our food, okay, the brain does for Torah, for Hashem's wisdom. And what happens is that when we learn Torah, the brain, we ingest the Torah, we digest it, and there's holiness inside of our bloodstream. You took Hashem's will and wisdom, which is infinite, and logically it would be impossible to absorb that. And yet Hashem chose to make it possible. That only through learning Torah and doing mitzvahs are we able to literally grasp Hashem's will and Hashem's wisdom, which is not possible any other way. I don't care which religion you belong to. I don't care how much yoga and meditation and Himalaya mountains and I don't know what you do. And you could only climb rung by rung as a physical human being. How much could you get to? 1,000 years, 2,000 years? As much as work as you do, you can't touch infinity. You're a finite human being, and that's all you could do. But Hashem only through for all the people that think that out there maybe they're going to find some meaning, is only the answer is only Torah mitzvahs. You don't have to go far. There's nothing you're going to find anywhere else. This is the only way that your neshama could express itself. It's the only way you could reveal your unity with Hashem. There's no other tricks. There's no other way. There's no other means. There's nothing else. It's just Torah and mitzvahs that gives us an access point, two different ways of having a relationship with Hashem. When we do a mitzvah, we have a makif, energy, light surrounding us. And when we learn Torah, we are ingesting holiness. And we actually become holy. We actually become holy, and there's actually a change that happens inside of us. We have holiness flowing through our in our bloodstream, in our veins. A mitzvah shifts us from the outside, and the Torah shifts us from the inside. And the more Torah we learn, the more Hashem is absorbed in our reality, the more Hashem becomes real to us. And like growth, you might not be able to pinpoint and say, oh, on this day, this is when I grew. Just like, but you have a certain you reach a certain milestone, and you look back and you say, oh wow, over the last 4 years, I've been learning Hasidus, and I see that there's a change in me. It's not something that you could pinpoint. Oh, it was this day, it was this hour, this minute. It's a process. It's a process, and sometimes we might not feel it. We could learn Torah and say, I don't feel that hoo-ha connection and the aura and the light. It might not feel it. Doesn't matter. It's like that pill. You took the pill, you're gonna feel better. It doesn't matter if you understand what's inside the pill, the components of it, what's making it up or not. And when the more Torah we learn, we start thinking God-like. And it progresses our relationship with Hashem, our service of Hashem, to have a meaningful, to serve Hashem in a meaningful way. Okay. So and also we said there's different ways of learning: Pshat, Remez, Drush, and Said, the simple interpretation, the metaphors to analyze, and the secrets of Torah. So no two people process Torah in the same way. But ultimately we all have this opportunity. And the metaphor that is given in this chapter 5, is that the metaphor for Torah is compared to bread, which satiates a person. That's what bread does. That it gives it's not a candy, it's not ice cream, it's not extra sweets. But what Torah is it nourishes us, and it satiates our body. It's a staple food. Yeah. Okay, so it's very interesting, okay? Bread nourishes us and sustains us, but there's only one way that the bread is going to nourish us and sustain us. We might like, especially people that are on a diet, they might like, if I could only just look at the bread and it would sustain me, it would be perfect. What about people that have eating disorders, right? So the only way the bread is going to sustain me and nourish me is if it goes from the plate, from the table, inside me. There's no other way. It's not going to happen through osmosis. It's not going to happen through looking at it, through contemplating, through going to Pinterest and looking at all the beautiful advertisements and cookbooks. Looking at cookbooks is not going to nourish you. Only way is if you eat it. Too bad. There's no other other way of getting the nutrients.
You just hit it on the back of the cookbook. I wish when I look, it would be in front of me. Yes.
I just wish it would be like cooked already.
Yeah.
That's what I want, this and this, and then it's already done on the table. That'd be great.
And not only do I need the food, the bread to go inside of me, I also need my digestive system to be in working order. Because what does the digestive system has to do? It has to extract the nutrients and the enzymes from the bread. So two things. It has to enter the body, and I need my digestive system to be working properly. So if I learn Torah, some people say, how many blot Gemara did you learn? It's a race. How much ground could we cover? So what happens is you're grasping Torah, but you didn't get the teddy bear. You let go too fast. You're going too fast. And also, if you speak to a nutritionist, they'll say that one of our problems is that we eat too quickly. We just gulp down the food. We're in a rush. We're in a carpool. Just shove the food down your throat and you're flying out the door. We don't take the time to eat slowly, to chew the food properly. So when it comes to the digestive system, the digestive system doesn't have to work so hard, right? To actually chew the food. So we have to, when we learn Torah, it's not just about turning pages, but we have to learn well. We have to learn it well. We have to apply it. We have to probe into the depth of it until the information becomes one with us. So what could go wrong when a person learns Torah is that if it's just superficial learning, then it's like the digestive system not working properly. And it's the kind of say, oh, I finished learning Tanya. I said that. I finished learning Tanya. Now that's very, very haughty and very not proper to say that. You could say, I concluded learning this one time and I'm going to go back to it, right? Hadran, right? What do you say, Hadran? You say, I'm going to go back to it. Hadran, I don't know the exact words, but when you finish learning a Masechta, you say, I'm going to come back to this Masechta. So, and also Simchas Torah, what happens? The second you finish Leisa Bracha, you start Bereshis again. There's no such thing as I finished learning. It doesn't exist. You finished learning. Who do you think you are? It's an infinite God, infinite Torah. You finished learning. What do you finish? No, I went through one round. It's not such a thing as finishing to learn Torah. There's a pin test. We could take a pin, put it through the Talmud, and now to say every single word wherever that pin hits. Okay, that shows that a person has a very good memory. Right? It's very impressive, but it doesn't tell you anything about how much of the Torah became part of them. So yes, it's learning, but you have to learn properly. Grasp it. Hold on to the teddy bear. Don't just let go. You have to really get it. You have to understand that when you wake up in the middle of your sleep, that you should still know the answer to the question. Okay.
Why does it say Talmud Torah K'neged Kulam?
Okay. So why does he? Okay. So why does he Talmud Torah K'neged Kulam is because Talmud Torah or learning Torah and has both elements. It has the element of food, and it has the element of Torah, but it also has the element of a mitzvah because learning Torah is also a mitzvah.
Then should only be spending a lot of time learning about.
Good question. But again, you also have to know that Talmud Torah K'neged Kulam doesn't mean that if I learn Torah, I don't have to do any more mitzvah. I don't have to do any mitzvahs. It's not an exemption from doing mitzvahs because the Talmud, when we learn Torah, we understand Torah properly. When we understand it properly, not just because I want everyone to respect me, or I want to, become a rabbi, or I want to, have my ulterior motives. But when we understand, so that's what we're saying, that we have to have a good digestive system. Also, it's not just about taking it in, but also we have to truly understand. You have to truly understand Torah. When you understand Torah, when you understand what Hashem wants, you understand that Hashem, that you want to do mitzvahs, you want to fulfill Hashem's will. And we do need both. We do need both because I'm just going to go ahead. Because if we have two ways of having a relationship with Hashem, if it's only through learning Torah and it's only about my personal relationship with Hashem and according to my brain and my IQ and my understanding and where the source of my neshama, if it's coming from Pshat Ram Mizrash Said, what happens is we could forget that Hashem is not just coming into my space and meeting me where I am. We also always have to have the bigger picture and know that Hashem is way beyond me. Hashem is so infinite and surrounds me. We can't get stuck and say, oh, Hashem is in me. I ingested him. I got him. Now I could feel so great about myself.
Yes, the person doing it for an ulterior motive is not in that position anymore. of learning just for the sake of learning.
Okay, so we have to understand what it means lishma, learning in order to get the benefits of that the Torah should satiate us and give us the nutrients that we need. Obviously, it has to be lishma. You have to understand what lishma means. There's 3 different ways that you can learn Torah. You can learn Torah. The worst way to learn Torah is if you're learning Torah in order to take people away from Yiddishkeit. That's the worst way of learning Torah. Then you could learn Torah if a neutral, and you say, or if you're doing it for ulterior motives, you want to become smart, you want to be, you want people to respect you. All that is not going to give you proper nutrients. Just like you can't eat candy. I'm saying you could eat candy, but I'm saying you want proper healthy food. If you want healthy food, you have to learn Torah in a healthy way, not for my own glory. And not just and then not for a neutral way either. Oh, my father learns Torah, so I'm learning Torah, or that's what everyone does, or that's why I went to school. This is what they teach me in school. I have no choice. Not for that reason either. If you're the way to learn Torah, the Shema is the reason why I'm learning Torah is because for one thing, because I want to reveal my connection to Hashem. That's what it means learning Torah, the Shema.
Because here I'm working on my
To do a mitzvah, if you're doing it to do a mitzvah, and which is to connect to Hashem, to reveal my connection to Hashem, that is learning Torah Lishma. But not to do it not to do it in a robotic way, that I'm doing it because I'm a robot, because that's what is expected of me. But to do it because I want a connection with Hashem. A mitzvah is a connection. If you're doing it because it's a mitzvah, then that's a connection. That's Lishma. So we have to learn Torah in a healthy way in order to get the benefits of Torah. But we can't just say, oh, look how great I am. I ingest Torah. I have Hashem's will and wisdom inside of me. I'm so great. But that is not enough. You also have to realize that yes, you ingested Hashem's will and wisdom, but guess what? Don't lock God up into your stomach. You know, Hashem is way beyond that as well. And that's why you have to have a connection with the mitzvahs, where Hashem's energy is too high and too great to penetrate and to come inside of you. It's both. We have a relationship with Hashem that's makif, that's surrounding us on the outside. And we also have a relationship with Hashem that's a pneumistic relationship, that's internal. And we need both to have that balance. We should never get lost. We should never think Hashem is too far away, way up high in the sky. And we shouldn't either become too haughty and say, "Oh, Hashem's inside of me, and I'm so and I'm so great and wonderful, and I have this amazing connection with Hashem, and I'm the greatest gift to mankind." Not to become too haughty either. So we have to have both a balance of both Torah and both mitzvahs. We have to have both of them.
But it's a little hard to understand why, if you accomplish, you're in this world to do Torah and mitzvahs. So you need the balance. But if Torah gives me the mitzvahs already, why were the Prushim who were there to learn all day not good enough because they were doing both? They had the surrounding light, they had the internal, besides the fact that they do it for their own motive, but like if they're doing it there simply because they want to learn Hashem's Torah, I know it's not our duty in this world to solely learn, but we're contradicting ourselves by saying we're here for this, but we're also getting this by doing this. But we shouldn't be doing it all day.
Because you have to do them, you have to say Shema at a certain time, and you have to put on film, there's messages that have to be done.
But besides for those, that doesn't contradict with every prayer. Meaning watch that go out of the world.
So I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. A couple that get married, before they get married, they go to a marriage therapist, and the marriage therapist tells the husband, you have to buy flowers for your wife every Friday. There's no problem. Takes out his phone, puts a reminder, okay, or even better, he calls the florist and he says, from today on till forever, here's my credit card, a dozen roses, red roses, because I know my wife likes red roses the best, a dozen roses to be delivered at 2 p.m. every Friday. After 6 weeks into the marriage, the wife is not happy. They go to the marriage counselor. What's the problem? I get you roses every single week. There arrives 2 p.m. red roses, a dozen red roses at the door. She's not happy. Why is she not happy?
It's not coming from him. But if a person truly sits and learns all day, why should he go out in the world? And because he has
But not everyone has to.
commanded other responsibilities.
But not
He
everyone
has
has to.
commanded and mitzvahs.
But not everyone has to.
Has to be
Exactly.
lost.
Not
Not
everyone.
everyone does have to.
Not
They have to
everyone has
provide
to.
for their wife, they have to have children, they have.
We're
to-
not here. You
Because
could
they're in the mitzvahs,
you
they
could
have
have
to.
said, you didn't have to come down to this world just to sit and learn.
But he's not just sitting learning.
A relationship
The relationship
means
with his family. With
a relationship means that I'm not gonna that a relationship means that if I know my wife likes red roses, that's Torah. Hashem loves when we learn Torah, but it doesn't mean that doesn't mean that I can never buy that the husband is never going to buy his wife a piece of jewelry, or go take a vacation, or go to Israel, or anything, or take out the garbage, or anything like that, or help with the kids, or when you love someone and you know that they have a strong will, they really, 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 really want something. It seems so it seems so petty. I'm saying something that seems so petty, but this is, you have to honor, if you're married to someone, you want to fulfill their will. You want to do anything and everything that can make them happy. Yeah, this is a interesting question, and I don't know the answer for it. Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question.
I think the Torah, like, the Torah, the Adam, Hashem gave me the land to work the land. And that's Cain, heaven, the whole thing about the, like, heaven, Cain, heaven, that we've given them. Bring you. So the Torah to me was like, Hashem, where you follow my Torah to bring the rice out. And in the Torah, it tells you how to live Hashem's divine will, which working or learning.
Learn
So it's not like a contradiction.
you.
It's like,
That's
not
why
one or the other.
has visiting hours.
That's the way it's
Like,
like.
we don't have visiting hours. So they
In anything we do.
in their house.
It's beautiful. It's not easy, you know, it's not like, it's not one or the other.
Which I see
That's
very
we're getting confused here.
Right, so there were some people, but then when you found them, they were, some of them were, yeah, some of them were like garbage men and
That's
whatever,
what
no one
it's
knew who they were.
It's not
But you're also
just-
doing something in the,
Is
I'm
that
trying to
Torah?
say that
the people,
Because
they don't.
They're removing themselves from this world.
Right.
According to the season, also that you're the Hashem, our job is to
100%.
reveal Hashem in this world.
But you're saying the
Just
highest
learn-
level is still
The
Torah,
highest
which
of
accomplishes the
unity.
mitzvah.
Because the highest level of unity is not revealing Hashem, it's your
Right.
physical, you as a person unifying with Hashem. I don't know if that means it's making an idea of
It's absolutely living within our world.
It's
And spending every extra minute learning Torah, so why should we spend more time learning Torah?
because we have commandments called mitzvahs that
Well,
Hashem
that's
wants us
also
to
mitzvah.
equally do and to reveal Hashem's godliness to this
Right.
world through mitzvah.
And also
So we have a
Hashem.
equal requirement to make a direct Torah as to learn Torah. Even if it's on a higher level, we're still required to bring his
I
glory
mean,
down
learning
on this
Torah
world, 'cause
can-
that's really the purpose of this world.
Learn
That is
Torah if you're doing it for the sake of revealing Hashem.
What does it mean, learn
well.
Torah? Like I was
Like,
saying, like
just to learn
Torah,
for intellectual stimulation,
not
it's
for
not
not
like,
for stimulations
no,
because
it's to learn what Hashem
It's an
wants.
honor.
That means Hashem wants 613 mitzvahs. When you learn Torah, you're learning how to better improve your relationship. How is your relationship? Doing 613 mitzvahs, being a better, whatever it is, learning better, davening better, doing your mitzvahs better, Ahavas Yisrael better. How are you implementing the mitzvahs if you're sitting and learning all day?
But
You
it
just that means you're
the Torah-
intellectually gaining.
the Torah was,
understanding,
this is what
but
I
you're not putting it to work.
the
You're not
Torah,
doing
the
mitzvahs.
Torah basically is, I think, is the way we live Torah life. Through the Torah, like Adam was created, the Hashem gave him the world to work the world. It says in the Torah it just said to learn to work. So it's not a contradiction to work or to learn. It's that the Torah is a book of direction of life, of how to get close to bring the RRIs into the world, right? What really happened, which I learned, is that when God created the world, he took the Araisa and he made the world. What is the Araisa? That's the original spark of God's Hashem, and the world is supposed to go by itself like that. That's why Adam Chav, and then we're supposed to find Hashem like that, and then it didn't happen. So because then we had Cain Abel, we had the dark flood on the Mabel. So then Hashem didn't take this chosen nation. That's when he became Jewish. He took Bnei Israel. You're gonna be my richest to also. You're gonna be my special nation. I'm gonna take you people, and I'm gonna give you a Torah. You're gonna say Nasa v'Nisha, and your job as Jews is to bring godliness and do my Torah to the world and show, and by living the Torah life, and that's what it means. But so when we learn the Torah, it's not like learning that, but by doing mitzvahs, by living this Torah is learning Torah. So it's not like I have to sit in yeshiva like this. You can also bring godliness by having children and living a Torah life and mitzvahs. It's not like it's not like I have to sit in the base of midrash to only be living Torah life. We also do Torah by
No,
being
that's what's wrong with a person that
It's in our Torah all day. He's exempting himself from the other 600
He's not, he
mitzvahs.
can still be doing mitzvahs, he can still be doing other things, the person needs to eat and sleep.
But
every other
he's
minute
refraining
he's-
from doing other opportunities. There are other opportunities if he, and there are things that you can do when you go into the physical world, into the
Right.
mundane. There's no way you're accessing that mundane by sitting and learning Torah all day.
There's a concept that if you're, there's a
There are
concept.
special,
There
there
are
are
some
It's a
people
concept that
where
if
the
you're
community
not
started
doing
that
it
way.
for that mitzvah, then, and you're learning tighter, then
Yeah,
not to interrupt your
absolutely,
tighter.
that's
There is such a concept.
But like that person is a privileged person to do it, right? Like, let's
It's a
get
special
food
soul,
to
it's
just
not
go
for
and do
them.
that, who's gonna bring the food on the table? So that means the person, it's so,
I think.
Okay, so let
Especially that.
what is it?
I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, like what started, it's supposed to be a place where it was
But the
practiced, it was
question is-
so, it was made only to
I
sit
see this as
and
not-
it's not,
I see this as
right,
not true.
it's not agree with that,
Meaning
right, that's what, it's the whole question, everything's the
Right,
thing,
so
so
how-
understanding that, that's the
Okay,
difference.
so let's go right back to the basics, okay? There's Hashem's will and there's Hashem's wisdom, okay? So, and it's two different ways of relating to a person, okay? So, I could learn a teaching, write a poem, I give it to my husband to edit. When he reads that poem, we're having and comments on it or edits it or whatever it is. So we're having a relationship. It's about wisdom, okay? And that's a beautiful relationship. But then there's also something will. Okay, and I'll tell you what happened this week. It was Hey Teves. My husband went to Crown Heights, and I told him that I want that chitas, the chitas with the big one, like the chayenus, whatever. So I wanted a chitas. He comes home with a big smile, and he gives me a leather-bound chitas. And I didn't know what to do. I'm married for almost 24 years. And I couldn't, it sounds so petty. The color of this chitas is pearl pink. Now, I like hot pink, dark colors. I don't like light colors. I'm married to my husband for 24 years. We're talking about getting a computer case. I told him hot pink. He says, Honey, no, why hot pink? It's a funny, he got me a tablet. The cover was brown. I said, I want hot pink. I like pink, dark colors. No, pink, purple, turquoise, no light colors. I mean, how many times do I have to say it? So he doesn't think it's sophisticated. What do you mean, hot pink? He says it's not a dress. It's a sefer, for heaven's sake. You mean a hot pink chita? Anyway, right now the chitas is still in the plastic on the shelf, and I'm deciding. so I and my kids are.
Bejeweled.
What I
Like
do?
jewelry, like the jewelry, like the sides, like the jewelry.
My kids were mortified that I said something, and I said, "Listen, if I'm married for 24 years, don't you think I could have the whatever to just say what I feel, for heaven's sake?" You know. So I don't know if it's right. Maybe I should have shut up. But whatever, it was driving me crazy. What is the right thing? So my daughter said to me, she says, we learn in seminary, if your husband buys you a present, you say thank you very much, and you get used to it. Whatever. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know the answer to the question. If you really want a different color, should you have the right to say, or did you ruin the present? Whatever. So I was telling my husband, I said, the post brown flakes and whatever, Hashem has a will. It's this and not that. He says, that's Hashem's will. That's not when I give you a present. Okay, I don't know the answer to that question. If anyone has any ideas, they should let me know. But anyway, so that's what I'm saying. There's wisdom and there's will. Okay, my husband shared what he shared with me something so. He called me. He was driving. He called me to share an incredible concept that connects to the sikha that we learned this week. An incredible thing. It was Levi and Yosef, and he says Yosef is conquering the world. That's shluchus, and Levi that's learning Torah. He had a whole thing that he spoke to someone, and it was like a whole incredible thing. And he called me for no other reason, just to share this wisdom, and that's a great relationship. But if our relationship is only about wisdom, right? And if if I really want, I don't know, whatever it is, the hot pink chitas and whatever, then that's what I really want. So it's two things. It's two different things. We're complicating people. We're people. It's not just one. We're just one facet. We're not two-dimensional. We're not a stick figure on a notebook. We have. There's more than one part of us. So there's a wisdom and there's will. It's two different things. And if you truly, truly love someone, you're just going to say, "Oh, the only thing I want to do with you is learn Torah with you." There's other parts of a marriage besides for just sitting and learning. I want us to learn. Get a chafrasa. It's not a marriage. That's not a marriage. It's not a marriage. You know, when you're looking for a partner, you're not just looking for someone. They tell the boys, you're not just looking for a chavrusa. You need someone, right? So the same thing with Hashem's will and wisdom. There's Hashem's wisdom, and that's great and it's wonderful and accomplishes tremendous things. But there's also something. So I would say with Torah, the main thing is the food. You also, there happens to be a mitzvah in the Talmud Torah, and you said it with you actually said it. Okay, so you also get the light around you. But A, I can't learn Torah 24/7, and B, the primary thing of Torah is the food. That's the Torah is compared to food, and mitzvahs is compared to something else that actually helps us in Olam Haba, and that's why we do need both. There's two aspects. You can't just get self-absorbed and yes, in just Hashem, but you also have to know. You also have to know that there's a dir b'tachtainim, that Hashem wants this world to be a dwelling place for Him, and that's how Mashiach is going to come. It's will and it's wisdom. It's two different things. And also, when it comes to Chabad philosophy, why is it that the Chabad boys on Friday they finish school early, or they don't even, maybe they don't even have regular seder. They daven and they go on Miftzayim on Friday. You could say it's bittul Torah. They could be sitting and learning what? Miftzayim is that they go to businesses, to offices, to stores. Each one has a route, and they go and they put on tefillin with people that don't have the opportunity to do so. They speak to them, Torah. They're called the Friday boys. What? Right, so, right, true. There's 10 commandments, but Miftzayim is when you go out into the world and you bring the Shabbos candles, the tefillin, the Talmud, to the Torah, the mezuzahs to the people. So, but the Chabad approach is that yes, learning Torah is amazing, and yes, it fills me up and makes me feel connected and reveals my connection. But ultimately, Hashem's will is to have a dir b'tachtainim, a dwelling place on this earth, and that's not going to happen if we just seclude ourselves and lock ourselves up. We have an obligation. We have an obligation to teach Torah to the whole world. It's Torah tziva lanu Moshe me'irasha kilas Yaakov. Torah is an inheritance for every single Jew, not just for people that were born from. It's for everyone.
Because they have two people learning simultaneously.
The more the better. And when you're teaching, you're processing it more for sure.
I think something else is different people. Like the Rov Ha'am, that's what we should be doing. And there's going to be diachidim who are going to sit and they're going to bring down, because I see something like these. I think they brought down Torah that we learned, but we need them. But we do need them.
No, we need people always learning around the clock, 24/7.
But we might need those people. No, but there might be some people who just they need to bring it down, and they're gonna share that Torah somehow.
And some people it says Torah sayum. Some people Torah is their occupation.
Right.
Now some people that
also their plaything, like that's also something saying like we play with it, like almost like it's like that's their enjoyment, their fulfillment, everything's about. Thank you. I but like it's like a play. It's almost like a shashua, like it's a song. And so like I was singing. I'm like with the kids. I'm like, Mommy, you're singing. I'm like, no, I'm singing with the other kids. It means that Hashem, like almost like Torah is my plaything, like it's like a game. My toy. Like I just like play with it.
But we learned this past week with the Shabbat Tzachel, Levi had obligations to learn while everyone else was dancing. Right. There are few and select that do have the There are few and select, but like she said, the majority of us.
It's not for everybody.
But Levi went out.
Right, but what do
And
you do?
share
with
this
Torah?
Torah.
Right, what do
They have to
do?
influence.
Learn to
They have to learn to influence.
People, but those people who seclude themselves, but those people who seclude themselves, at the end of the day, they brought down light and they brought down wisdom that wouldn't have had if they wouldn't have secluded themselves in that time. And then they're at the right time, it was shared. They're still finding like notebooks
Like
of the
Reb Shimon
people.
Bar Yochai. He was in a
Exactly.
cave for 13 years, yes.
But there are people I remember, actually had a shock about, they found art, like, people, like, who were like.
Also, there's one more
Yes.
point, and that is in this parak, we're focusing on learning Torah. There's going to come another parak later on that's going to tell you that mitzvahs is even greater than Torah. Okay, but that comes way. No, so I'm saying, right? So everything is relative. Everything is relatively speaking. Relatively speaking. This is the greatness of Torah. But when you compare it to something else, or when you compare it to Mekadir of Tachtainim, when you compare it to something else, then it's all.
A mitzvah can take us higher at the end of the day. We should immerse ourselves in mitzvahs, because even if that creates that unity, it's not the end to all. It's not the end to all. It's not the means. We're not supposed to be actively learning all day, because that's not what his will is.
Hashem's will is ultimately the Dir B'Tachtainim, and the only way Dir B'Tachtainim happens is if we do mitzvahs. Right, but the concept of Dir B'Tachtainim is to elevate the physical. You have to get down and dirty for that. It's not going to happen just by sitting and learning. You could have a shir, and you could have tea and Torah, and you could have lunch and learn, whatever. You could elevate the food. You could bring the food in. Okay, So ultimately, there will come later on a parak in Tanya will speak about Dir B'Tachtainim, and it will show the other side of the coin. But right now we're focusing on the greatness of Torah. Okay, so now we're going over time, so I just want to explain the advantage, what happens in Olam Haba. What does Torah give us, and what does mitzvahs give us for Olam Haba? So when you fly, when you taking a trip, you're just coming from Israel, right? So did you rely on the airline food, or did you also pack some sandwiches? What? Neither.
Yes. But yes,
Sandwiches.
you always have to.
Right. So what happens? The airline food is to open it up, to look at it, to take one bite and to say it's disgusting, and then you take out your 15 sandwiches to eat. Right? And if you have a person that's not Jewish that's sitting next to you and he's crying about the airline food, and you're thinking to yourself, what? You didn't bring sandwiches? Who's relies on the airline food? That's ridiculous, right? So in this world, we're making sandwiches. We're making sandwiches for Olam Haba. And when we learn Torah in this world, then in Olam Haba, our neshama will have nourishment, not just junk food, but will have nourishment. Now, of course, a neshama always lives forever and everything like that, but you can't compare someone who just ate a good meal, has a lot of energy, compared to someone who's it's a fast day that they didn't eat anything. If they're still alive, and neshama is always alive, but you can't compare it to someone who just ate a good meal. So Torah gives us food for our neshama in Olam Haba. And what do mitzvahs do? Mitzvahs give us clothing, protection. Now, if it's a boiling hot day outside and you go to the pool and you lay on the beach chair, you're going to get burnt if you don't put on suntan lotion, or you don't protect your skin, you don't protect yourself, right? Maybe you need an umbrella, maybe you need whatever it is. And the same thing is in Gan Eden. And Gan Eden is not the end of everything. After Gan Eden is Tchias HaMeisim. And the neshama is in Gan Eden till one of two things happen: either till they come back reincarnated into this world, or Tchias HaMeisim. And the neshama needs clothing, protection, in order to be able to benefit from and to take pleasure in the tremendous light that shines there. So the mitzvahs give us protection, and the more mitzvahs that we have, the more protection that we have, the more we're actually able to benefit from and take pleasure in and the light of Hashem. So that also might be an answer to your question.
What's the protection from in the next world?
So there's a tremendous light. There's a tremendous light. And if you don't have mitzvahs, then it could zap you, could burn you up. You need to be protected. Like, you can't just look at the sun. You need glasses, you need sunglasses, you need to protect yourself in order to benefit from it. When there was an eclipse, right? They tell you, don't look at the sun directly, use these particular glasses. And if you use these particular glasses, then you're able to see it. And without the glasses, you can't. So it's all a mashal, it's a metaphor. But what we gain by doing mitzvahs, and the more mitzvahs, the merrier. And also you have to realize that Hashem has 613 organs, quotes, and every mitzvah relates to another one of those organs. So when you do a mitzvah, you're connecting to this particular organ or that particular organ. So you don't want to just only focus on one out of 613. You want to be able to connect to every single part of Hashem, not just to one little part. So that's what we want to do all the mitzvahs. Okay, so basically, the difference between Torah and mitzvahs is the ar pnimi and the ar makif, the surrounding light or pneumistic connection, an internal connection. And for example, if you have someone that comes to give a lecture, lectures for 45 minutes. He comes, he stands in front of everyone. There's 1,000 people in the room. Maybe he's able to have eye contact with the people in the first 2 rows. He has to speak about a very general topic. And 44 minutes and 59 seconds, he's out of there, he gets his paycheck and shalom. Right? But that is he has to talk to everyone. He has to talk to, it's a very broad topic and he has to talk to everyone. But versus if this great speaker, he speaks to one person or to 3 people, and maybe they go off topic, and maybe and then when they go off topic, that's when the real learning happens. And it's not 45 minutes; it could be 3 hours. You have no way of knowing. That's a much more personal connection. That's what happens through Torah. Panimi, makif is like the weather. The weather doesn't ask you if you have a picnic planned. The rain is going to come when the rain is going to come. The weather is makif. It's not personal. Versus a restaurant. You go to a restaurant, you say, you pick what you want to eat. You pick how you want the meat to be cooked. You want it reared, you want it fully cooked, you want it crispy, whatever you want. More salt, more spicy, less spicy, more dressing, less dressing. Restaurant is a pneumistic experience, while weather is a makiftic experience. It doesn't really ask you any questions. This is the difference between Torah and mitzvahs, that we have the surrounding, that Hashem is surrounding us, something too great for us, and yet also Hashem could also come inside of our bodies. And why do we have to have both? The mitzvahs is the reality check that Hashem is fundamentally and infinitely beyond us. If we just had Torah, we might forget that Hashem is way, way beyond us. Hashem is doing us a favor to give us an opportunity to know Him. Hashem gives us the Torah, says, this is me in book form. But we also still have to know that Hashem is infinitely beyond us. And with a mitzvah, it doesn't matter how wealthy you are, how smart you are, how religious you are. Mitzvah is equal for everyone. And it's equally important for me to light Shabbos candles and for someone who never lit Shabbos candles before to light Shabbos candles, because a mitzvah is equal for everyone. Doesn't matter how religious I am. And mitzvahs, the advantage of mitzvahs is that we acknowledge that Hashem is in control. We accept His authority and His guidance and His will. And if He says Shabbos candle time is 4:27, then it's 4:27. And if He says that mikvah is after whatever, 6 days, 7, whatever it is, every single, and yes, a nail polish, not a nail polish, every single detail, that is Hashem's will. And when we do it, whether we understand it or not, shows that Hashem is boss, that we accept that Hashem is boss, which is very different than Torah. Torah, I'm enjoying Hashem's wisdom. It's so brilliant. It's incredible. I'm in this magical space. But yet, mitzvahs give us the opportunity to recognize that Hashem is the boss. Hashem says this is, and ultimately it helps us in every single part of our life. Comes, I don't know for all high schools, but my kids' high school comes this time of the year, and now there's production. And this one got into drama and this one didn't. And the one who didn't is devastated. Or her friends got the best part and she didn't. And ultimately, you could say to your child, when they're ready to listen, Hashem is in control. You think that's why a mitzvah is so important. Hashem is the one that's in control, to have that humility. And that's okay. And that is, it's just, I lost the recording for a second. That's okay. And in Gan Eden, in Gan Eden, we are able to see from all the mitzvahs that we did. We're able to. Once we get to Gan Eden, we don't have to do mitzvahs anymore. But then we're able to see that Hashem is in control. We can experience it, what it means that Hashem is beyond us all. But the downside of a mitzvah is that it's not personal. That's why we need both. So the advantage of mitzvahs is that we accept Hashem's authority and his guidance, and Hashem is in control. The advantage of Torah, that Torah takes a godliness that is greater than us and makes and takes godliness that is greater than us to talk to us. And that's why Talmud Torah is connected to Kulam. Okay, I thought it was done. But Torah does not exempt us from mitzvahs. It doesn't mean that we don't have to behave just because we learn Torah. Yes, Torah has both values. It provides both the information and that gives us that surrounding light. Just like by learning, when you're learning, you're grasping it and it's grasping you. So it really is the best of both worlds. It really is the best of both spiritual experiences. And that's why it's not just enough to meditate. We also have to say the words out loud. When we say the words, we actually make the environment holy, which is another form of makif energy, surrounding energy. And it says that when Mashiach comes, the walls will shout. Did you create an environment of Torah? That's why it's so important to actually speak the words of Torah. And ultimately, when we learn Torah, when we do mitzvahs, we release the soul, we allow the soul to express itself. And now we think like, wow, but then comes chapters 6, 7, and 8, which is to come, we're going to start talking about the challenges that the animal soul present us with. Okay, so that's where we're headed. But so far, it's just incredible the power that we have. How, that what happens when we learn Torah, what happens when we do a mitzvah. It's just incredible. That we have the opportunity to ingest Hashem, to have a relationship with Hashem, a personal, internal relationship with Hashem, and yet at the same time to also have a relationship with Hashem. We realize that Hashem is infinite and way beyond us, and we have both through Torah and mitzvahs. Okay, sorry for going over time.
Like